Hello, and welcome to Pot TV and the THC Show. I'm your host, Neil Magnuson, and THC in this case refers to truth, hope, and change. Three things that are very important for us in these trying times for sure. On the show today, we'll have 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca. Jerry Martin will not be able to make it today, but we'll discuss a little bit about what's going on with him. We'll make our annual visit out, or our weekly visit out to the Healing Wave CSP hippie van and see what's going on with that project. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what the role of government is supposed to be. In a free country, in a democracy, what is it that we want our governments to be doing? We are free people. That is how we start. I mean, well, we don't start that way because we're born into a situation where we're not free to make our own choices until we mature to that point where we are. But once we've gotten to the point where we say thank you for helping us, I'm gonna be my own person now and go out into the world, then after that, really nobody has the right to bully or force a person into doing things they don't want to do or not doing what they want to do, unless of course they're harming other people, in which case it's everybody's business, and we all try to make sure that nobody harms other people, and we have a responsibility not to do that, as well as a right to be able to do what it is that we want to do, as long as we're not hurting other people. Freedom is a natural right. It's not something that is granted to us by anybody, because nobody owns us. We're just beings and life forms that were born onto this planet through a series of procreation that's been going on for billions of years. So realistically, in the right, no one has the ability to bully other people. It's just not right. But that's not how the world works. That's not how nature works. Unfortunately, the way that it works usually is whoever has the most power, gets all the chips and takes what they want and has their way. And that's been going on for a long time amongst human beings as well as other life forms. The strong survive and the weak get set aside. But as we've moved forward as human beings, a different type of life form on this planet that spends a lot of time on ethics and thinking about what's right and wrong, and we have such amazing language that allows us to do all of that. And so we've been working on these things for a very long time. But through the course of nature, for millennia, human beings, the masses of our people, have been controlled by those that had the power, that had the might, that had the wealth, that had whatever it was that put them in that position where they could be in charge of other people. And there's been numerous pharaohs and kings and queens and different types of dictators as people are taken over by military excursions and things. And all of that, is just what is, but it's never been right. It's never been right that some person declares themselves to have God, blood inside them, and they're sovereign beings above everybody else, and they get to order everybody else around and charge taxes and make rules, and none of that has ever been right. It just is what is. What's right is that people are respected. They're respected by the people around them, by other people in their society, as free and individual sovereign beings, each and every one of them. And that's what's right, and that's what we've been working towards for a very long time. It has taken a very long time. It is a process that's been ongoing for thousands of years, certainly hundreds of years, since anybody but the rulers got special treatment. Starting with the Magna Carta 800 years ago, where some certain noblemen got some rights that they managed to cut out for themselves. And we've moved on from there. In the last couple hundred years, we've had common law, and that's an ever-evolving and ever-changing way of trying to decide justice in a world where people are innocent until proven guilty, and all those things that come into where you're going to try to have justice in your society. And I think your society is judged by how just it is in dealing with people and things and the stuff that happens in it, and by how well those people that are less fortunate are brought along with the rest of the group. And so we've been trying to evolve a system of governance that doesn't involve dictators and kings and queens for quite a while now. We've achieved a lot of lip service in that respect, and in fact we've achieved systems that, if they work the way they were intended to work by the people, we'd be way better off than we are. but the systems that we have are systems that were put in place to appease the people, but really to continue to serve the interests of the elite of this planet, the financial elite, the corporate elite, those people that are in those positions of influence where they're considered royalty or presidents and all of those sorts of people. What we need to have is protection for the individual rights of each and every one of us to be able to live our lives and be who we want to be and do what we want to do and don't do what we don't want to do unless we're harming other people. And ultimately that would be the system that we would like to move towards. And to get there, we've got public servants, we've got elections, we've got ways of trying to figure out how to meet the needs of the people, from local governments to provincial governments and all the way to federal governments. And all of these levels of government are there supposedly to help, protect the citizens, the individual citizens. Unfortunately, the systems that we have allowed for influence by the corporate elite, by those very people that we're trying to get protection from. They have found the loopholes. The loopholes in many cases are designed in originally to allow that the corporate elite really still have control and really still are able to exploit and monopolize and take advantage of people. But this is just there to appease us. That you can say that you're free, you can call it a democracy, you can say that everybody's elected and that they're all working for the people. Where in reality, we all know that's still not the case. That at the higher levels of government, there's a lot of corruption that's going on there. There's a lot of backdoor meetings going on. We allow for lobbying. We allow for all kinds of things. We have a government that's not limited in its ability to make rules against people. And that's ridiculous to begin with, that we would give so much power to public servants to be able to make and enact laws that make no sense for us, that aren't there to protect us, but are and have been initiated simply to protect the interests of the financial elite and the people that are really pulling the strings here. So we've got a lot of corruption going on in our system. It's been going on for a very long time. But what is the role of government? What is it that we need as people to have governance? I mean, it's good to have some governance, that's for sure. There are areas where we collectively need help, primarily with respect to bringing those people along with us that are less advantaged, that have many different obstacles in front of them to living their lives, barriers, handicaps, all sorts of things. We want as people, as citizens, to bond together and use our resources to help the less fortunate. That's something that a civilized society does. It's part of a measure of a civilized society. So we do want governments to do those sorts of things. When it comes to business, there's a role to play for government if there are harms that are occurring within the marketplace. There's also a role for governments within business to help facilitate business, because business is good for the economy. It's good for the society. When some people want something and some other people or some person is able to provide that and get it to the people that need it in ways that make sense for them, at costs that make sense, then that's how a free marketplace works. And there's a role for government to play in there with respect to making sure that happens, to make it easier. With respect to protecting from harms that can arise from business, well, those are regulations that governments can put on. That's the overriding umbrella word that we use for those things, regulations. And regulations, they come in many different forms. There's many ways to regulate things. The bottom line needs to be, what are you regulating it for? Why is there a need for government regulation here? If there's no need for government regulation, then there shouldn't be any. We don't need a whole bunch of obstacles put in place by government. We don't need government to be our nannies and fearful and fear-mongering and going, oh, but what about this and oh, but what about that? We need them to be smart about it. We need them to do due diligence. We need them not to get in the way of commerce and business unless there's a good reason to do that. Whenever you're imposing regulations and restrictions on people doing business, you're infringing on people's individual rights as human beings to do or not do whatever you want to do or don't want to do unless you're harming other people. So that whenever governments come along and say, okay, well, hey, hang on a minute now, because you're doing this way, there's some people that are being harmed by that, and we need to make sure that doesn't happen. And that's great. There is a role for government to play in that situation. But those regulations need to be the least intrusive possible, number one. They need to properly and reasonably address the problem, whatever it is, in a creative, least intrusive way possible. And that is the role of regulators, that is the role of government, and we need them there for that. But we certainly don't need them there to put in obstacle after obstacle after obstacle for people that want to be in business, to tax every step of every way so that they can just use it as a money-making scheme. It's not there as a money-making scheme for government. Government's not supposed to be in the business of making money. Covering costs is fine. Having fees for regulatory bodies and some taxation to cover the costs of things, of course, that's necessary. That's what has to happen. But it's not what has happened. What has happened is there's been just a lot of corruption involved. A lot of groups that are involved in the regulations are actually people that were being regulated in the first place, that managed to get into those positions because it's to their advantage to do that. And you can see lots of examples of this in the world if you look into it. So we need to have ways of keeping the regulatory bodies from being corrupted. We need to have ways of making sure that those regulatory bodies are reasonable in what they do, that they are intruding as lightly as possible on people's rights and their freedoms. And so that needs to be revisited. We need to have, I would say, another body, an unbiased regulatory body that oversees the other regulatory bodies. And that one more level of regulations to make sure that corruption doesn't seep in there. Make sure that there's some real good due diligence that's done as to whether or not the regulations that are being imposed are reasonable, whether they are unreasonably infringing on people's rights and freedoms, or what they're actually designed to do. Because if you look at many of the things that are regulated, and boy, we could sure go to cannabis for that, you'll find out that the regulations that are on cannabis are not there to protect anybody but the regulators themselves, but the government, but the people that are profiting off of cannabis. They're not involved in protecting the freedoms and the rights of the people that want to access cannabis, or the price would be reasonable, the packaging would be reasonable, the restrictions would be way less than they are. We really need governments that will respect the individual sovereignty of people, of the individual citizens, and understand that that is their job, is to protect us and to make sure that we are not infringed on in any unreasonable way. We should probably get into cannabis regulations and what's so ridiculous about that. I mean, after all, that is what the show is about. Truth, Hope, and Change is really about THC and access to THC, and access to THC that makes sense and that's reasonable. Because what's happened here is that we've had decades and decades of out-and-out attempted prohibition, an attempt to annihilate the plant, to not allow anybody to have access to the plant, and use the criminal law to make sure that doesn't happen, impose huge fines, maximize the amount of harm that can be done to people that would be involved in growing or selling or even using cannabis. And so there was decades of that type of regulation on this one particular plant. The plant doesn't deserve hardly any regulations. It's one of the most benign substances in our environment. There's millions and millions of people taking billions and billions of doses over all of these years, and there's no problems with those people that are doing that. If individuals have issues with cannabis not working for them, they just stop using it. It's not something that's addictive to the point of making it, especially if you're having problems with it, it's not hard to quit at all. Lots of people have done that. Many people have a bad experience with the concentrates or the edibles, and especially the edibles if they eat too much, and then they don't even go back and try it again because they had such a bad experience. But really, that's self-regulating. That's not like they ate a bunch of edibles and now they're hooked and they can't stop it, and even though they're having horrible experiences, they just can't stop eating those edibles because they're addicted to it. Nothing like that at all. There's no physical addiction to cannabis that's of any concern. It's a very easily self-regulated substance. In fact, it has to be self-regulated because people don't know. I mean, no government knows what's right for you as an individual with respect to cannabis and how it might work for you. Nobody knows what dose works but you, and you might not even know what dose works until you take that journey and find out for yourself. And so that's a personal regulatory thing that happens with individuals and how they learn to use something and where the benefits are and where the problems are. But here government has tried for decades to use the maximum a regulation that they could, which is out and out prohibition. You can't grow it, you can't have it, you better not sell it. And they tried that for a long time. It resulted in so much disrespect for the law, so much of our police resources being used on the attempt to annihilate cannabis from the environment, and so much harm done to individuals that simply were trying to better their lives, because millions of people continued to use cannabis. The stories about cannabis being medicine and helping people sleep and helping with pain and helping people laugh and feel good and all those things continued all through Prohibition, despite the lies that were told, no matter how hard the government tried. And in fact, in many cases, when the government tries to tell you that you shouldn't do something because it's bad for you, because it might cause you to go insane, it might cause you to go crazy, that maybe you're going to start having sex with people of different color, all these different warnings that they gave people, all that did was entice a whole bunch of people to go ahead and use it even if it was dangerous. And so, the regulation called Prohibition did not work at all. And so the government decided, that they had to respond to public pressure and legalize cannabis, because we had proven that there was no reason, no justification in what they were doing. And so they came along and devised a new scheme, because the whole idea of prohibiting cannabis was never about protecting people from a dangerous plant. It was about profiteering. It was about profiteering on substitutes for cannabis. It was on the black market, profiteering on the sale of cannabis. All of these huge, powerful forces, the pharmaceutical companies that want to sell you their products, all of these huge, huge profitable organizations have been behind the prohibition of cannabis for all this time. It's 4:19, I'm running out of time, and I still got so much to say. I go into these sometimes wondering if I have enough to say, but by the time I get wound up, there is so much to say. The role of government in our lives needs to be a positive experience, not a negative experience. We shouldn't be fearing the police. We shouldn't have to fret about the tax collectors. We shouldn't have to worry about the pitfalls of trying to deal with government, trying to navigate the court systems, trying to deal with these public servants. These groups that we pay money for to be our servants, to help us as people, individuals, and as a society, need to be working for us. And we need to find a way to force them to work for us. They need to be limited, they need to be accountable, they need to be transparent, and they need to be people that will stand up to the corporate elite, that will make sure that people get access to the things that they need, get problems solved for them, that get the necessary warnings about things that we need to be warned about, and all the things that help the people that are less fortunate move forward in this world and keep up with the rest of us. That's what we need our governments to do. We need to find a way to do that. I hope that we can do it in the next little while here. There's going to be a reset and a relook at how a lot of things are done, and we'll just see what the next little while brings. But for me, I think it's one of the most important things in this age and time of ours is to try to get into line that huge, powerful beast that we have created, that was there originally and intended to be to protect society and individuals from the corporate elite, that has been co-opted since then, and we've all been kidnapped by the corporate elite through that vehicle of our governance, and we need to address that and as best we can work towards fixing that in the future. But it's now 4:20, and that's the time when we take a little break and get some balance into life and think about things from a little different point of view by inhaling some of the magical vapors. And Glenn Wells is with me as always on the show here as our 420 session guest. How you doing, Glenn?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well. Feeling a little more alert these days.
That's good.
I'm on my mushroom regime.
Alert is always good. I did mushrooms yesterday too.
Yeah.
A little bit more than you though.
And there again, it's an individual thing.
Well, I don't know why you lit that up. We got this special joint. We're celebrating 5
I can light
years
more
of
than one.
friendship.
I got two hands.
I know people have been asking if you're a stone already.
I start the show puffing on a joint.
You do.
And,
you do.
For those of you who don't know but only suspect, I start before the show starts. I'm also puffing on cannabis. It's a way for me to focus and think about all the things that I want to try to tell people.
Well, we have this.
So, what do we got there?
Special rose blunt from CustomSmokeCanada.com.
I'm gonna put this one out.
Yeah, they sent us one, and today being our 5th year of friendship, I figured I'd bring this, and
all right.
we had John Murray fill it up for us, and we'll smoke this
and
together.
It's full of weed that came from Canada's
Canada's Cannabis Center, and we're.
That's a tongue twister.
It is. It took me a few weeks to work
all of a sudden, my brain
out.
stops after the first word, but it's Canada's Cannabis Center.
Yes.
and they're kind enough to sponsor what we're doing here with the CSP, and to send us a sample of some of the stuff that they have available for them. And in this case, we're combining it with. This is a blunt.
Yes.
That's not mine.
No,
That's not me. It's
somebody's over there.
oh my goodness. I know whose that is.
Sorry for the musical interlude.
Just smash that thing.
It's 420.
Yeah, it's right in the 421. So this is a blunt, but it's not wrapped in tobacco paper,
no.
because if it was, I probably wouldn't smoke it.
Yep, it is made from organic edible roses.
Organic edible roses.
Yes, and that's customsmokecanada.com. I will put up a code for you guys. If you're interested in one, they get 5% off if you use this code.
Are we doing that now?
No, this is just for the rose blunt. But yeah,
that's
we can do that. You want to do that? Ready? Let's do that.
All right, because Canada's Cannabis Center has been offering this deal where if you put in this code, then it'll be very beneficial to do that. We highly recommend that you do that. We highly recommend that you check out that site. It's not like other sites. There's other ways of doing things there. You really got to read carefully the way that it's laid out there. But that's what's going on. And for someone who calls in and provides the code that we're going to
not
give
calls
them.
in. They just got to go to the site.
Yeah, not calls in.
You order your 30 grams. Put the code in at the shipping center, and if you're the first one to use that code, it's going to come up 0. So you're going to get free meds. You're going to get 30 grams of free meds, which we're allowed to do in Canada.
Are we going to show it now?
Sure, you want to do it?
You
all right.
ready to go?
Yeah, Neil's got the link
got
there.
it there.
I'm
so make note of this. I know it's a long number, but that's complicated because it's a skill testing question.
All right. I can't. Neil, you're going to have to do it. It's temporarily blocking.
You're still
blocking
in.
me. Yeah, it's blocking me.
You're still in
Thank
Facebook
you, Neil.
jail.
Neil, there. Yeah. So there's the code. Everybody just click on that link. Use that code. For the last 2 weeks, nobody's used the code.
You haven't understood quite what we're saying.
No, it's free.
You got to go do that.
Check out the site.
Check out the site.
You could be that
make
free
an
winner
order.
this
Use
week.
the code. Read all the fine print.
Yeah.
And thank you so much to the people there for sponsoring what we do here with the Cannabis Substitution Program.
Yeah.
And sending us some samples every week. That's always good too.
Yeah.
And so there you go. I think you've had enough time to write
and
that down.
It's in there, and they've got the link to
Industrious
first
people
person.
will figure that out.
Don't be afraid. Now let's light up this rose blunt.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Thank you very much,
There are
Canada.
things to fear, but that's not one of them.
So we got the rose blunt from Canada Custom Smoke and some hot chem dog from Canada's Cannabis Center. And there we go. And it smokes really nice. This is the second one I've had. I do believe even Doug and Michelle have ordered some of those. Yeah.
Shout out to Doug and Michelle.
Yeah.
The Silly Sikoras.
I love them.
Check out their work. That's funny. Try
You
not
can
to steal that.
Keep the orange one, yeah.
Yeah. Want to trade?
No, I like blue.
I got an emoji on mine.
Oh, that's good. So these are limited edition. There it is there. And it says it's made with organic edible roses grown from Custom Smoke Canada.
That tastes all right.
No chemicals, all natural flavor, scent and no scent or color. It's a seasonal item. And look at that, they even have a little stamp on the back of it.
It's a nice gift to give somebody for sure.
Yeah. Here's the code there. Canada Custom.
And this is because Glenn and I have been Facebook friends for 5 years, and we know that because Facebook tells us that.
Yes, they did. It's so nice that they can tell us that we've been friends for 5 years.
You've been coming on the show for almost 2 years now.
Yep.
And,
coming up to 100
coming
shows.
Up to the 100th show.
Yep. April 17th, be here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can get
there'll be something special. I'm
maybe
sure.
we get the Hicks here. He's agreed to come. He's the one who does that cannabis music on Spotify,
awesome.
right? Maybe have a little bit of Hicks music there.
I'm open to whatever wants to happen that day. People can do what they want. For me, it's going to feel kind of special. Hard to believe that that's the case. Time really flies.
And 2 shows after that, it'll be my 100th show. I came in on the second week.
And 2 shows after that, it'll be the 2-year anniversary.
Oh, really, eh? Wow. So we
got
got
something like that.
We got lots of stuff coming up.
I did take a couple of weeks off, so maybe it'll be 4 weeks after that one. We'll see. But there is a couple of milestones coming up here for the show.
And
we've covered a lot of ground on the show. we've also continued the same theme for
Yep.
a long time
Yep.
with the show.
And my friends at Riders Bites is going to make us a nice medicated cake for the 100th show. So
Nice.
we'll definitely have something to share with everybody else.
Cake is good, but it can be dangerous.
Yeah, it's medicated cake for
It needs
sure.
to be it needs to be regulated. Some people abuse it.
We'll be able to feed out 16 to 20 people, she said. So
Yeah,
that's
or
great.
one person that wants to eat too much.
Yeah.
We don't recommend that.
I know a couple people who like to eat too much.
Sugar, man. That stuff is incredibly dangerous.
Oh, for the brain.
Sugar.
Oh, I know, eh?
It just, it takes away so much from people. It gives them pleasure while they're ingesting it. That's
Yeah.
the whole point. They've stripped out all the nutrients that are associated with sugar, because sugar is just a taste
Yeah.
that tells us that there's fuel there in that particular substance. Because that's what you go for, is sweet berries and things. Sugars are fuel.
Yeah.
So the taste of sugars is what attracts us to this particular food. But what they managed to do was strip out all of the nutrients
Yeah.
from sugar, right down to just the refined white sugar, which really has no food value to it, but it's got all of the taste, concentrated. And then they put that shit in everything.
Yeah, yeah.
In
And then you got the
everything.
real good sugar, and then you have the refined sugar. The refined sugar is the worst stuff for
Oh,
you.
for sure.
If you want some sugar, do some sugar from sugar cane or something like that.
Well,
But
and the
it's-
sugars that they're putting into everything,
those are
everything.
much better.
Those are
for
sugars
you.
that are cheap, easy to get, not good for you.
Yeah,
You have to be careful about how much of those types of sugars you ingest.
Yeah.
Like I say, sugar is food. We all need sugars. That's
Yeah.
what we're going for every day. But try to get it from fruits and vegetables and from other sources that are natural sources, because that's what's fueling our body. That's what we need.
yeah.
Everybody knows that. I didn't
a lot
teach
of people
anybody
don't
anything.
use sugar, but it's really hard to avoid. Even that vitamin water has sugar in it. Even though it says
I
vitamin
use brown
water.
sugar.
You eat brown sugar?
Landlord is in the studio.
Yeah,
putting in his 2
he's
cents
got
worth.
something against white sugar.
Not a big
White
fan
devil.
not a big fan of snow or
Yeah.
white sugar or cocaine. Any of those white things.
Or goose down.
These days, it's a very sensitive topic, and I don't blame them at all. I'm so disgusted when I when I look into more and more of the history of the treatment of the indigenous peoples.
Yeah.
That's okay. I love you guys.
Oh, I love
We
you
love
too.
you too,
and,
man.
I
And
know.
happy
That's
early
the point.
birthday. Happy early birthday, because we know your
My
birthday's going to be
birthday's
on
on
Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody can say happy
Right
birthday.
in the middle, you pop it right in the middle. I don't get, I'll come and I'll sing you happy birthday. I told you to come on by the RV anyway. But,
Oh, that'd be nice.
it's got to be within that 24-hour framework for me.
I'm
Before
on
I,
Indian Standard Time, which is spelled
And then also
NDN.
come down on BC Bud
Yeah.
Day, and you'll probably find Landlord there.
BC Bud Day. Yes,
Yeah, at Sunset Beach. Yep.
Yeah, come on down.
Yeah, so that's another thing I was going to cover. We may as well talk about it now.
Why not?
I should have brought you on.
Yeah.
But, well,
I'll just come for a second.
Sure.
you don't even have a chair. What are you going to do?
No, I'm
Bring
okay.
That chair. Bring that chair.
I'm okay.
There you go. Look at that. See? And Neil's going to bring you the chair.
Neil,
Old man.
oh, you're a good man. I visit Neil at the office at times and smoke a joint with him.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Is it air conditioned?
Oh no.
There we go.
Hey.
Hey, happy birthday to him. Yes,
How's it
early
going?
birthday.
Yeah, so BC Bud Day.
It's an anniversary anyway. It's not the
Oh, that's
birthday.
like Christmas to
It's
me.
the
BC Bud
anniversary of
Day.
the birthday.
Yeah.
BC Bud Day is like Christmas or New Year's.
There
So
you go.
BC
Happy-
Bud Day, it's a British Columbia holiday, although I think you could probably have some BC Bud and celebrate BC Bud Day wherever you are in the world.
Yep.
But it's an event that's unique to Vancouver, started by Darren and Katie, Katie, back a few years ago now. And so this year we're having it at Sunset Beach. We did find last week on the program there was another event page for the Thornton Park event put on by Darren and Katie. We've been unable to confirm that. We've been leaving messages with them that are not returned. I think Glenn suggested that might be a page that they put up a while ago in anticipation of it.
Yeah.
And that maybe it's not going ahead there. So there's no confirmation that I can give you. It's this coming Monday. But there is absolutely BC Bud Day going to be at Sunset Beach, similar to where we had Cannabis Day. I'm told there's going to be a lot of stuff going on there. There's some surprises this year. There might be food trucks this year.
Ooh. Nice.
And, entertainers, some decent DJs, lots of different vendors. It's the beach.
It is. Come on down, enjoy the beach. And
yeah, it's not quite as easily accessible as Thornton Park would be, but it's the beach.
Yeah.
And it is you are able to get there. You could get to Burrard SkyTrain station, take a bus up to just before Burrard Bridge, and then it's kind of right there. It's not very far from that at all.
And what kind of beach can
It's
you
even
go?
it's even not a bad walk.
Yeah.
Actually, from Chinatown, you take the beach bus. It'll take you down there.
Is that
Oh,
right?
there you
Yeah,
go. There you go.
So there are ways to
I'm
get
the
there.
landlord. I know the bus system.
See, it's always nice to have a beach where you can get some non-government medication. Come down, get a tan for the day, walk out with a pocket full of meds, so that when you get home you can have a nice joint and you don't have to smoke that chemical stuff from the government.
Last time I saw that, there was more stem than weed in the government.
I know. Well, people are learning, right?
And a lot more carbon than cannabinoids. So if you want good weed, you probably need to go to people who love the plant, who care about it, who are willing to risk a little bit to get it to people, that care about what they're doing there, and that's your local gray-green market. The government stores cannot be trusted, I'm sorry to say, but that's just the way it is. In fact, the more we look at this model that's been presented to us, the more this is obviously a huge effort to completely disrupt the legalization movement, to force people into paying a fine up front for their cannabis instead of the end of prohibition. And legalization should have meant that the price of cannabis would come down to a reasonable amount. $10 a gram is what you pay when it's illegal, and you're only going to sell it to somebody if you can make that kind of money, because you could lose your liberty, you could lose your possessions, you could go to jail, it could be a nightmare for you, and that's the cost of risking that. That's why cannabis was $10 a gram. For a plant that's, easy to grow, it's a wonderful little plant. You can't stop it from growing, well you can, but I mean, not if you treat it half decent at all, and it'll produce for you, huge big trees and bushes if you want to let it veg for long periods of time. It'll produce for you, a pound of weed. Some people get 2 pounds a week. If you know how to do it, if you maximize your ability to grow in the space that you have and the light that you can give it, you can produce large amounts of yields off of cannabis. And my point there is that it shouldn't be so expensive. I'm fine with connoisseur cannabis. People want to, lots of people have great expertise and they spend lots of money and lots of time producing fantastic cannabis, and that's great. But, you can just have a plant that grows in your yard and it's going to bud for you. And those buds, you dry them out and cure them, they're going to be just fine. They're going to be really nice. And as for farmers that mass produce crops, they can, just like they mass produce tomatoes and all these other crops that we have, if they were allowed without government interference to just grow cannabis and bring it into the marketplace and put it at a price that was reasonable based on what it costs to bring it to market like any other plant, it's more biomass per cubic meter than any other crop that a farmer could grow. It's less difficulty than most other crops with respect to the internal pesticides that cannabis has. The soil is reusable. It's a very durable plant. If it's given what it wants and what it needs, it'll really do very, very well. So there's no need for this ridiculous government-controlled cannabis distribution that is continuing to maintain higher than prohibition pricing on cannabis that isn't even as good, that, like you say, is suspect because by government regulation they have to irradiate it or spray it with chemicals to reduce the microbe count.
Because they don't want to be sued.
Because they don't want it to work. They don't want it to be medicine. They don't want it to work. They never wanted this to work. They want everybody that wants to be a cannabis grower and seller to turn themselves in, to put themselves on a list, to sign up for a store, to sign up for a license. They want to know who we all are. They want to discriminate against us. They want to use it against us. They want to say that people using cannabis have mental health issues. They want to say that if you're using it for medical purposes, well, then you can't drive, you can't own firearms, and you're suffering from mental health issues. All of these plots by this evil empire that are determined to exploit us, to sell us their poisoned pharmaceutical garbage. That's what's going on. This legalization is not about the government recognizing that it was wrong for all those years to say that people shouldn't be able to get cannabis and to use all of our own money against us to such a large degree, to ruin so many lives and all of that. They were wrong.
Yep.
And legalization should have meant they come out and say they were wrong and say that they were sorry and some sort of reparation and an end to the lies. They need to stop lying to people. They need to tell the truth about cannabis. Cannabis saves lives. Cannabis helps people. It helps people sleep. It helps with pain. It helps with all sorts of things. Most cannabis users, and we number in the millions, if not billions globally, will tell you that it helps them in their life, that they really have a good relationship with this plant, that they're happy that they have this plant. They're willing to pay large dollars to have cannabis, to risk, all sorts of criminal penalties to have and to get and to provide cannabis.
Do time for it.
Because people like it. It works well. It's a wonderful plant. Yeah, okay, landlord, you can get me off my high horse, I guess.
I'm sorry.
I barely get on often enough,
I just want to share that you're totally 110% correct. I'd just like to share again briefly. I was a heart patient. I've lost so much weight. No more diabetes thanks to the medicine. I smoke about 20 joints a day. I'm down to 180 pounds. No more pills, no more insulin, thanks to medical marijuana. And it's just like the government, you want those puffers for your lungs. There's Knick-Knick, a native medicine for your lungs. But they want the puffers because they want the money. So it's all about the money, okay?
It's all about the money.
So I'm just saying, I beat the system. I was on 24 pills a day this last year. A year later, I'm on no pills no more.
There you go.
Wow.
No more pills. I used to joke about it. Why did native take the pill? Because it's white and it works. But I don't take pills no more. I smoke my herb every day. I wake and bake, and it's my not just recreational. Sometimes recreational is when I really want to get really so high I can barely see. But I medicate.
And what does that do for you? Because it does something for you, doesn't it?
It gives me some peace and quiet at home and that. But I do the medicine. I love Mary Jane. Me and her have been married for over 45 years. Oh, you're so
an unbreakable relationship.
Oh yeah, 45 years, and she never knocks me on the ass. She gets me a little squinty eye, but yeah. Bottom line, if the government knew the truth, it would hurt them because they don't like competition.
Oh.
That's exactly what it is.
The
The government does know.
We know that. Don't steal.
I personally, it's hard to say. Okay, as an indigenous, but I forgive the government because in my life I want inner peace.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though they've done wrong, I don't have to like the government.
No.
But I've
So we know
forgiven
what
them.
they've done.
They apologize to me. I've forgiven them because I go out there in the community, help a lot of people in the community. I give them joints and weed and that, and hang out with people, and I meet people from around the world. And yeah, I've been a landlord in this neighborhood for over 45 years, and I enjoy meeting people who like to smoke weed and talk about stuff. And we all have gifts. You have a gift, and I have a gift. For sure, I'll have one. My birthday one.
I gave you one.
Oh, that was
Did you
small.
smoke it already?
I think he's fishing for gifts.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, share. Marie says share with Glenn Wells there, Neil, your joint, but I'm pulling up mine.
Well, bottom line, I thank you, Neil, for your THC show, and Glenn who comes out here, and Neil who does all the camera work. It's high technology trying to get the word out there. Would I encourage everybody who's on here today? Share this link.
Yeah.
Please share this link with other people.
And use that code.
Well, I don't know about a code, but yeah. I just, this
Keep the code to
THC
yourself
show
and
is
use
so
it.
good. I can't. I'm fathom that Neil's gone this far, and he's doing very well. He's just hanging in there. He's like the lone warrior, but he's my pale-faced warrior. I love him, man. He's a good guy. I love you both, guys.
You're our indigenous face.
We're all just way too nice.
Oh God!
Like really, seriously, this is such a horrific situation here. It's horrific for anybody, whether you're a cannabis user or not. If you really put some thought into it and recognize what was going on, if you really understood the amount of your tax dollars, our precious money that we have to give to the government so that they can use to help benefit us, how much of that is going into law enforcement and worrying about whether or not people have too many plants or not, and all of that type of thing. And at least now it's how many plants you got. we're making ground on this. But really, I mean,
Save it.
I'm to the point of losing it. I mean, it's like, really, this is too much on
But
it.
if you do, then they win.
I know. So,
Okay.
you
So
know,
let's just, yeah.
thankfully, the plant also keeps us disciplined and allows us to continue to deal in the face of hardship.
Yeah.
But the hardship that's imposed upon us as human beings, not just the cannabis community, not just medical cannabis people who have so much trouble getting access to good meds, not just people who are easily addicted to the easily available opioids in the neighborhood and throughout the world here, and are now dying from a tainted source, and even without that, they were dying of overdoses at an alarming rate anyway. It's a very toxic substance when not used properly. Easy access to that stuff. All of those people, I mean, people are dead because of this prohibition, big time. Many of them. Some on both sides of this issue. Some of the people involved in supply, some of the people involved in enforcement, some of the people who are just consumers, some of the people that would be dead if they could have been consumers. We're talking about a lot of lives.
Oh, I
that have been
probably would have
lost.
lost my life, yeah.
Big time. So much. And it's really outrage. I mean, I'm outraged. It's infuriating. I try to hold that down because there's no way to get things done, and people don't want to see too much of that. But, you know, I really am outraged by all of this, and I'm getting close to the bone here. I just lost a young man I found out about this morning. James had been coming to see me for cannabis since the herb school days, 17 years ago when I met him here. He was a young man that was all messed up on crack, and that never ended for him except that he managed to stay clean at times. And he was part of our program, and we kept giving him meds. And he told me a few months ago that you know we had kept him alive for this time, and he thanked me, and he said, you know, several times I feel like cannabis has saved my life. And now, you know, we talked about him the day before yesterday that we hadn't seen him and his mother for a while. And sure enough, if Jen didn't run into his mother yesterday in her walk on her day off, and James died of an overdose. And he leaves behind 4 children that he's managed to father in that length of time since I've known him. And we can only hope that those children don't follow the similar path to their father, and that they, you know, become good human beings out of that.
Yep.
But it's very distressing.
Not to say that James wasn't a good human being.
James was a good human being that struggled mightily because of things that had happened to him, the traumas in
All the
his
good
life.
human beings do struggle.
Oh, it's we're all doing the best we can as human beings.
Landlord, me, you know, there's a lot of us out here that are struggling.
I was set off in directions that could have led to a very destructive life for me.
Yours is out. You want some?
I like this, I guess. Get back on the herd because, you know, I'm having a pretty somber moment, and that's how I woke up this morning to that news.
Yeah.
After the day before, finding out that another one of our regular clients at the Healing Wave, her son, 27 years old, died of an overdose. So he had been clean for a year. There's so much of it still going on. People are in distress, and it's not widely enough known that cannabis edibles will displace the use of those other substances to get you that same point of numbness or whatever it is you're looking for. You can do it with cannabis high-dose edibles.
You'll never hear the government say that.
And it's not widely known, and it's certainly not widely available, and it needs to be widely available. This is why I'm so frustrated and infuriated, is that what we've been doing is demonstrating now for almost 4.5 years the safety and the efficacy of high-dose edibles. And that demonstration has resulted in close to 40 million milligrams of high-dose edibles being put out into this community here. And the numbers are down compared to where they would be without us. This community has benefited greatly from us and the work that we've done, and some other groups that are also helping to provide cannabis for the neighborhood. And so we're looking for legitimacy to do that. We've always wanted legitimacy since the very beginning. Since before the program started, I tried to get legitimacy. I went to the Vancouver City Council. First, I went and got unanimous approval from the #1 harm reduction group in the community, Vandu. Then I went to City Council. I tried hard with City Council. I had them lobbied by professional lobbyists for a couple of months in the interim after I presented it to them. I presented it to the Vancouver Police Board. I've wanted to be licensed. I've wanted to be recognized. We put out big signs every time we did our giveaway, 300 times. during a 3.5-year period at Vandu at Maine on Hastings, right close to Maine. There, we gave out high dose edibles to people twice a week. 300 times we did that. Every single time, I had big signs all over my vehicle, making sure everybody that drove by knew what we were doing there. It was easy to find out clearly through my signs what it was we were doing in providing cannabis to people there and to help them get off of opioids. The work done by Dr. M.J. Malloy to prove all of that, to show the efficacy of what we were doing, to the demonstration of giving out that many milligrams in high-dose edibles and how no one was ever harmed in any significant way other than people finding out through their own self-regulation what their dose limits are, where that, because you've got to eat too much to find out where that is. And if you do it right, if you start low, go slow, you'll still maybe find out where that too much line is, but you don't go so far over it as to have 3 days of misery and
or
wishing you
just
hadn't
maybe
done
find
that.
the comfortable zone and where you just stay at.
That's the idea.
I know that 2 or 3 was good enough for me. I didn't get too bad, right? So I'm not going to go for the 4th.
Yeah, the trick is to really feel it before you get there and then not go there.
Yeah.
But it's a very in an individual journey. It's self-regulating for sure. So,
and it doesn't hit you within an hour. You do usually wait for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. The Three Stooges, eh?
There you go.
There's Mr. Sterling Wild.
I guess I'm none of us are terribly curly.
Three Stooges. What the?
That's funny.
There you go, Sterling.
Thanks for the laugh, Sterling. Yeah.
That's a name we'll have a hard time shaking now, probably.
Sterling will be stuck in
The
my
only way to
head.
get rid of that is to eliminate one of us.
All right,
We all start looking at each other. But seriously, it's infuriating, And so here we are. We've been doing this for all that length of time. And then we moved from Vandu, where for 3.5 years, 300 times we went there and did that. Finally, because the city said they would support us, we found a storefront. This was it. We moved in here and we started providing our service here. And instead of getting licensed by the city licensing department said we had to be in line with the Cannabis Act. And that meant applying to the federal government, which we did under an emergency basis. We filed 2 applications, one for licenses that is extremely comprehensive, that covers all the different areas of how we're doing what we're doing, how it works for people, why it's necessary, how we remove the barriers of what we're doing here in getting this stuff to people. And another application, an emergency application, for a temporary ministerial exemption from the Cannabis Act from the federal health minister, Patty Haydu. And that we needed immediately to keep from being evicted for not having a license. But that didn't come immediately. In fact, that's over 10 months ago now since that was applied for. And here we are. And what's more infuriating than that, although that by itself, any government public servant doing due diligence would have had a look at that application and within a few days would have recognized the support that we had, the track record that we were claiming, and give us support immediately. This is what we need. You guys are helping. We recognize that. That's our job, and we're going to support you.
But the bureaucrat who's getting that application doesn't know those names and just thinks it's just somebody's fucking name on an application.
They know who Vandu is.
Do they?
They know who Vandu is.
Ottawa knows who Vandu is.
Yes, they do.
And looking at all these papers every day.
Benoit Seguin knows who Vandu is. He knows who Wars is. He knows these groups. They're the #1 harm reduction groups. They deal all the time. And these bureaucrats have just made promises to the people above them that they'll do whatever it takes to not allow for cannabis to be sold cheaper than the government stores. That's their job at this point, is to delay, distract, deny, whatever they can do to not allow that to happen. You can see that that's what their job is. We went into it understanding that and knowing that we really needed to prove our case. And John Conroy did a fantastic job of presenting the evidence to the federal government that we are saving these people's lives. We have hundreds of people that we've rescued from addiction that are part of our program now, that were part of our project then, and that here's all the evidence. Here it is from peer-reviewed clinical studies done by Dr. M.J. Malloy and others. Here's letters of support from from Professor Zachary Walsh, the foremost expert in the field of cannabis as a substitution for these things. Here is all these testimonials, and Neil put together an amazing video presentation of little clips of the members of our group, the people that we've rescued, and what they've had to say about us. It would only take a few days for anybody with a half a brain to have a good look at what we put in there, to recognize that this needs to be supported immediately. These people need to be able to stay doing what they're doing, to do it from a store, to expand their services. This is what we need. And yet here we sit 10 months later, still operating from an RV that we went through the extreme winter in, well, I'd say that extreme for Vancouver, and now extreme heat, which was extreme for anywhere in the world, what we've gone through in this last little while here in Vancouver, stuck in a non-air-conditioned RV, out stuck on the curbside because of government delay, because of government inaction, and government corruption at the bottom of it. And I want to read you something that recently has been released by the Federal Health Minister's office. This is Patty Haydu, and it's her job to try to address this overdose crisis.
It's like we need a cannabis ombudsman. You know, somebody that will go after the government to get them to do this stuff correctly, because they could just take their time. Like,
hey, I can roadblock them.
Yeah.
We could do a lot of things.
Because I'm even having a problem getting my license. I've been waiting almost 8 months now for my freaking ACMPR.
Yes.
I could use the cannabis ombudsman to say, hey, what's going on here? Right? 8 months for somebody to get their medicine. That's ridiculous.
So, as I mentioned, we have been helping people get off of opioids and other street drugs and other harmful substances, and to move to a life of using cannabis, either in the form of edibles or high-dose concentrates, or in some cases just the flower itself. Getting through withdrawal takes more than the flower itself, is the absolute general, that's what it is. Smoking cannabis is not enough to dispel all of the issues that come along with trying to stop using opioids and hard street drugs. But the cannabis edibles do that for people, and if you get through the withdrawal, the first 4 days are the worst. Once you're through 5 or 6 months, you're kind of there, but you probably still have the issues that you were using the opioids or the street drugs for, and then you transition to usually lesser doses than what you needed to get through withdrawal. And for some people, just smoking different strains of cannabis is fine. For other people, they need to have heavier concentrates, and for other people, they continue on with edibles, and whatever is the right thing for you, and everybody's different. But so we've been doing this successfully for all of this length of time. We've submitted this application that is complete with all of the evidence that proves conclusively that what we are doing is not only safe but very effective, and what this community needs with respect to the cannabis answer to the opioid crisis. And now Patty Haydu and the Federal Health Minister have come up with $116 million that they have available to people that will put in proposals for how to deal with the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we've been doing. So we've now written her a letter. This is John Conroy has put this together. Dear Mr. Seguin, it was with great interest that Mr. Magnuson and I read the Minister's recent quotation and announcement of this SUAP program that is set out and summarized below, with our emphasis added, highlighting how it appears to address exactly what the Cannabis Substitution's Low Barrier Access Program has been accomplishing on the downtown east side Vancouver over the last 4.5 years, as indicated by the relatively low number of deaths in the downtown east side, given the large opioid-addicted population, many of which suffer the dual diagnosis of mental illness and addiction, as well as homelessness, they're very hard to reach. So here's what the announcement said. Through Canada's Substance Use and Addictions Program and this call for proposals, we are working with community-based organizations to provide much-needed support to those that need it. Reducing harms and reducing deaths, these organizations are truly dedicated to improving the outcomes of this overdose crisis by using their expertise and experience to reach people that use substances based on the unique needs of the people in their communities. I encourage partners across the country to apply. The Honourable Patty Haydu, Minister of Health. So that's
You've done that.
Well, that's us.
We've done that.
That is us. That is who we are. She could be talking exactly about us. So from there, it goes on to say, the federal government continues to focus on providing communities across Canada with the support they need to improve the quality of life of people who use drugs and to protect and save lives. In recognition of the communities and families that continue to grapple with the opioid overdose crisis and increasing substance use amongst Canadians during the COVID-19 pandemic, because that's the other side of it. People are depressed. They're losing all sorts of family members or properties or monies or businesses and whatever. This has been a terrible last year and a half that we've gone through here, and many people turn to substances and misuse them, and so there's an increase in people even using these dangerous substances. So it goes on to say, today the Honourable Patty Haydu, Minister of Health, announced the launch of the 2021 National Call for Proposals, the CFP, for Health Canada's Substance Use and Addictions Program, the SUAP, as part of the budget in 2021. Investment of $116 million, Health Canada, through this call for proposal, is continuing to build up successful community-based programs that can help prevent, treat, and or reduce the harms associated with opioids, stimulants, alcohol, prescription drugs, and other substances that have a high risk of problematic use.
That sounds false because they're not here. So they're saying that they're doing it, but they're not here. They're delaying us.
They also don't really make it clear that that $116 million is going to be given out to the groups that are actually doing this.
Yeah.
The way it reads, it could easily be that the $116 million is just going to be swept up and made disappear by the government ministry, in their call for proposals, and then they'll see what they do with the proposals.
Or would the
I don't know.
$116 million be for
it isn't clear.
Or more nurses to give out opioids, which would the government would think would be a safer way?
Well, they think that what they're talking about here is the pharmaceutical answer to the overdose crisis.
Yeah.
That the answer to this, the people that will be able to help prevent, treat, and or reduce the harms associated with this, that will be pharmaceutical companies that come up with some alternative drug that's less dangerous, that isn't tainted by fentanyl, that isn't in the illegal marketplace, something like that.
No,
that's what they think they're describing. What they're really describing is cannabis, especially high-dose edibles, because that is the safe supply of a different substance that's not opioid-based, that's not addictive, that doesn't have potential for overdose and misuse.
And it's not going to make your kidney or liver shrivel up or anything like
That's
that.
right, and have all of those other side effects.
Yeah,
it's going to allow you to go to the bathroom successfully and sleep properly, all of those sorts of
Keep
things.
the prostate going.
So they go on to say, these projects help improve health outcomes for Canadians who are at higher risk of experiencing substance-related harms and overdose, or who may face barriers to accessing existing services. Projects that leverage the expertise of people with lived and living experience with substance use and or are able to reach priority populations in Canada. I would hope that this would be a priority population here. This is where most of the abused children of our society end up, many of them simply abused by the systems that we have in place here.
Yeah.
So this is where we would think our government would be spending a lot of their focus on trying to help.
When they were the ones that seemed that were finding out we're actually abusing these people that are down here. The government gave them permission to do certain things.
Well, the abuse continues down here through law enforcement and bylaws and a lack of ability for people to get access to things. It goes on to say this population, such as young and middle-aged men, Indigenous peoples and communities, people experiencing chronic pain, youth, the LGBTQ2 individuals, rural and remote communities. These are particularly encouraged to apply for funding. Interested applicants are encouraged to submit project proposals intended to serve these communities. Applications will be accepted until September 24th, 2021. And there again, they're talking about our demographics that we're dealing with here. And that we want to be able to deal with. And we've been encouraging through this program and through my Indigenous brothers across Canada to continue the fight for their independence from the Cannabis Act and their ability to service their communities through these herbs that have been helping people and that are medicinal without the government interference that is making it such a big mess.
Communities are doing that with their stores.
Some are and some aren't.
Yeah.
There's a real divide in the Indigenous communities between those that want to go their own way and be independent of the government regulations and provide for their own people, and those that want to comply with government regulations.
That's the yin and yang of everything, right? There's
It's
going to be
the yin and yang
those.
of everything.
You're going to be people who are going to support the non-government, and there'll be people who support.
Okay, I gotta say my piece now.
Yeah,
since
okay,
we're
you do
talking
that.
about our people.
Do you need a pipe?
No, I don't
You
need a
said
pipe. No, you can stay on my land. It's okay.
Okay, all right.
You bleed the same blood as me. Right
We
now,
do.
our reservation, for instance, is becoming self-governing. We own a percentage of BC Hydro. So
Yeah.
we're getting money back that way, building schools and community centers and our own health up there.
Right.
We have our own tribal police. I don't believe in the RCMP. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sorry.
Yeah, don't be sorry.
The RCMP are the crookedest police force in Canada.
Yeah, they
I
really
don't want to
that.
talk anything bad. I'm saying our people are becoming self-governed out of the 1,404 reservations in Canada. Because I used to work for Indian Affairs. Now we're Indigenous, Aboriginal. I wish the government would ask us what we would like to be called.
Yeah.
Every 10 years they change their job title.
Do you have an answer for that? Is it,
Indigenous
Indigenous seems like a pretty good one. I think you guys have had some input in that.
yeah. I don't know. In the
I
last
think they're trying to
little
find the right word.
while. Yeah. Me, I'm old school, so I like to be called cowboys and Indians. I used to play cowboys and Indians.
You like
If you
the
want to
Indian
really, we could go back to Cowboys and Indians.
Injun.
Yeah.
Well, if we could have it to do over again with what we know now, maybe we could do it differently. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're
Exploration. If we could explore the planet now with where we are,
So you're
maybe we would do a better job. I don't think so.
So yeah,
Because
we're
now we're not there.
Self-governing
I-
now.
we're becoming self-governed because we make that choice, and we're profiting from it because we have our own business.
Yeah.
And I know you're in discussions with them about the cannabis and what they should do about it.
I want to talk to my people about that, yeah, and teach them the proper about medical marijuana because a lot of our people could use it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it should be an easy sell, because the same government that's been oppressing the Indigenous people across Canada for all this time are the same ones that are lying about whether cannabis is something that people should be able to have access to. It's a very similar genocide against a plant that is also against people in their attempts to deny access to this plant and to continue the lies and the stigmatization against it. This is a government that can't be trusted. I don't know why the church isn't pretty quick to also jump on the bandwagon of, these are God-made plants, they're part of nature. They're a fabulous plant.
Yeah.
They provided, peoples with fabric and textiles for a very long
Rope,
time.
it's like the strongest rope in the world.
Exactly, and clothing and so much more.
Yeah.
So much more. And as we continue to find out the uses for these things and continue to investigate the role of the cannabinoids within our own endocannabinoid systems and all of these things, this is just insane what they've done.
Yeah.
And it's the same government that treated. I've always treated all of us, and it's not the government. It is, but it's the government because they're controlled by those people that have nothing but contempt for Indigenous people, for poor people, for ordinary people, for people that aren't them.
Yeah.
And so justice was never about us. It was about they were the us in justice, and it's just them. It's not us.
Just control us.
And it's all about controlling us, and all about oppressing us, and all about stepping on us, using us, squeezing what they can out of us, pushing us as far as they can push us without, serious revolt.
Welcome to my world.
It is your world. That's what I'm saying. These are parallel attempted genocides of cultures and communities. Is what's gone on with the attempt to stamp out, to take the Indian out of the child, and to take cannabis out of our communities is all, part of this overall bigger plot by these people who have contempt for us as
Where did they
human
find
beings.
justice or peace when they took me away from my mom and dad? I never got to see them ever again.
Yeah.
This is the government of Canada. We elected them in. Can't we elect them out? I thought when you...
Well, but it's then who you elect back in. See, they've put in a system that really it's hard for anybody but them to win. The big boys that have all the money, they control, the two different sides, the left and the right, if you will, or the whatever, the blue and the red, and they really control and own both of the main influential parts of both of those parties, and any other party that would threaten their ability to control through those parties is quickly either coerced into their group or set on the waste, the garbage pile because they can do that. And they've been running that system for a long time. They don't complain much about it because it works well for them.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't work well for us. We get to complain all the time, and that doesn't get us very far because landlord's right. You know, don't we get to elect out a new group? Can't we unelect these people?
Yeah.
John West would say, let's just vote none of the above.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that could work, except that we're all just too fragmented for that. And their campaigns are too great for that. Oh, there's a ton of people.
Would
for
so
sure.
Can't win that way.
You know?
Somebody's asking, do you know what's growing in the cup? What kind is it?
Well, this one says Mevi.
Maybe?
And that one, I think, is the...
A solo cup challenge?
that's the ChemDog,
ChemDog?
and Northern Lights number 6.
There you go.
These are both from Johnny B.
Yeah. And then you got
It's
one
probably,
back here?
probably Johnny B asking.
No, it was Steve. Steve Woodwitz was asking. And this one here?
That's another ChemDog.
That's another ChemDog?
Yeah, that's another ChemDog Northern Lights.
All right, I'll put it back here.
That was a cup winner for Johnny at the Saskatoon Cup. Shout out to Big Jeff and the Saskatoon Cup.
There we go.
Not sure what's going on with them this year.
Don't know. I haven't heard anything yet.
I know the Karma Cup is happening.
Yeah.
There's a limited amount of time to get in on that. What is that? You have to submit. If you want to be in the contest, you have to submit 31st. By the end of July.
Yeah.
The kits go out on August 20th. The decisions will be September 11th and 12th. They may be virtual, they may be in person.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens at that time. Things are opening up and what have you, but we'll wait and see on that. So the Karma Cup, that's an excellent opportunity to try different meds from different places that aren't government meds.
Yeah.
And
in the big city.
I pity the fool that got to go try all the government
how old
meds.
are the plants?
Well, I don't know. Johnny B grew them from clone.
Yeah. I guess probably about 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would say 3 to 4 weeks old now.
You usually tell by the height.
They'll be given away momentarily. We give them away here free at the Healing Wave and Cannabis Substitution Program.
Yeah.
To people that get excited about seeing them.
Yeah.
We put them in. They're visible when you look in the RV when you're at the window.
It just brightens your life to see something grow.
So when people say, "Oh my God," how nice that is.
I know.
I wish I could grow, but the only thing I can do is smoke it.
Yeah, Mike said he thought it was
I'm a big fan of growing.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of growing.
I got some night nurse going. It's looking real nice.
So I think there's 3 ways that we come at this attack on our legalization movement, on the real legalization movement. And one of them is by forcing the government to have low barrier access. And people all across Canada, wherever you are, whatever jurisdiction, you should be doing what you can to force your governments into allowing sick people, poor people, daily users to be able to get reasonable access to affordable cannabis in all of its different forms. That is the number one thing that is still the legalization that we were looking for in the beginning. We forgot to mention to the government that you needed to end the costly prohibition pricing. We needed to end prohibition by making it so that there were no criminal penalties for people involved with cannabis in any level. That doesn't matter if you're growing too many plants or if you got to deal with somebody to take some of your plants in trade for something. None of that should be a criminal thing at all, ever.
The easy way to stop them is don't buy from their stores. If they're not getting the money, they're going to change the program.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
people
one way
just
to do that...
don't go to the government stores. Don't buy their shit. If you don't go to Walmart and buy their shit, Walmart closes down because nobody's buying their stuff. Same thing with the power. It's the power of money.
And here's the way you can do this.
Free.
Because you can grow your own. They're just plants. Not everybody can grow a plant. Most people can grow a plant.
Yeah.
Most people can grow 2 or 3 or 4 plants. You can have them anywhere in your house. They don't have to have maximum sunlight. They don't have to have high-powered lights. No. Johnny B is doing an amazing job of showing how cannabis grows in low light spectrums.
Yeah.
It's incredible. You wouldn't believe it. Flowers and buds included. Growing plants in complete shade all the time. Yeah. He's doing amazing work. And that is that other front of the 3 fronts that I mentioned. The first being we need to get low barrier access licensed and approved by governments and allowed storefront access to cannabis for poor people and sick people, daily users. The second front is grow. Grow. Yeah. People in remote communities will tell me that they don't have a choice. that they have government store there. There's nobody else. There's no other hookup for them. They don't know anybody growing, and so there's no choice. And they're happy that there's a government store that they can walk into and buy weed. And for those people, I say, okay, whatever. You got to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
Recognize that you're supporting an evil a system of trying to take over and monopolize the supply and distribution of cannabis and do it in unethical ways, that they're still using the money that you spend there for enforcement against people that are just ordinary people that want to grow weed or sell weed.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize that the weed that you're getting is probably compromised.
Pop on. There you go. That's
But
it.
I still understand, with all of those factors involved, still might be better off to go into a store and get a bag of weed on your way to the cottage than not. So that's the other front, is
Go to your neighbor and get a
grow
bag of
if
weed
you
for the
can.
cottage.
Grow if you can.
Yep.
If you can't grow, if you don't know anybody that does grow, if you don't have a hookup, if you're going into some new place that you don't know, the third prong of what we need to do here is have easy access to each other to find those things out. And my friend Glenn here, unbeknownst to even himself, has been working on this and has achieved it through an app.
Yep.
For CannaMatch.ca,
Yep.
where if you don't know anybody where you can get weed other than some government store, if you're going to the cottage even and you're going through some town somewhere and you got a couple hours, you probably got time to get on CannaMatch.ca to find someone who's in that town who will know how to help you.
Yes.
There's another side to it, of course.
That I saw I was trying to hook up with.
Well, that's what he thought, too. And it is.
It's meet,
And it
toke,
is.
date. You can meet with people, you can meet up and just toke with people, or you can end up falling in love with people.
Oh, they have that on Mennonite this way.
Cannabis is a very friendly thing,
if
right?
you just
We're
need to
opening up
meet,
the world, right?
if you just need to meet,
Yep.
you don't have time to toke, but of course you'd always want to have a toke because that's part of the meet I'm talking
Yeah.
about. But if you just want to meet because you don't know nobody and you don't want to go to the government store, that's a great way to do it.
And you
It's
might
also
even make a friend.
Hey,
And
I'm
you
going.
might-
I'm going to your
Exactly.
house next week, ain't I? Next
You
Tuesday.
are.
I'm leaving my 5-block radius.
one of the coolest things for me in my career as an activist has been to network people, to put people together. I've made numerous trips across Canada with the Freedom Tour in 2006, 2007, 2008.
We're doing another tour in a
5.5 months on the road going across Canada, meeting activists all along the way, getting people's contact information, figuring out who fits who. You know, what person is going to be able to help what person, who's got what going on that they need this to help them do, and putting people together. And I have seen the connections, oh my God, right about the same time as I started doing the Freedom Tour in 2006, Facebook, became the way to communicate. And so social media came along, and watching the connections that happen, watching friends from, different random, places and groups of friends, they know each other.
Yeah.
And how did that all happen? Well, it happened because of connections, like through CannaMatch.ca,
Yeah.
through Facebook, through the Freedom Tour, and things like that. So that is the third prong of us defeating this most recent attack
Yeah.
on our movement to actually get cannabis freedom. And that's to have easy access to low barrier, easy access to cannabis, to have people growing all over the place as much as we can. Everybody grow for yourself, grow for your friends, be available. Let's have a marketplace that's full of people growing really good cannabis and sharing it amongst ourselves. Let's keep cannabis going and growing. And 3, let's stay connected. Let's get connected. We were doing that fairly well with the rallies that we were having with 420, with Cannabis Culture, with Sensible BC, with some of these other things. But now that the government's come, they've disrupted all of that with legalization. And now people say, oh, well, the fight is over. Or, many of the activists have gone to the other side, like as if there's two sides. There's just everybody wanting to get cannabis to people, and the government has fooled people, tricked people, forced people into joining their side of things. They're very sophisticated. They're very smart.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with the clever elite, not just the financial elite, for a very long time.
Another thing about plants, if you've got access to a plant, you have other friends who have plants. And if your plant didn't work out, maybe your friends worked out better, and they'll be a part of the cannabis community. We usually share. If somebody's didn't work out, we've got extra, somebody will do that for you.
Yeah.
It's really nice about our community.
grow, 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 connect, 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 and demand low barrier access for your friends that are sick and poor. The poor, sick people of Canada deserve to be able to have easy access to high concentrates of cannabis, to high dose edibles, to really good everything to do with cannabis, suppositories and topical creams and edibles of all sorts.
All kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
You can
this
use
is
these
an
things in
amazing
your
plant.
salad.
CBD, you don't have to get high. It's not about euphoria. If you want euphoria, great. You should be able to have euphoria. That's a whole other side of things that I want to talk a little bit about. Because this is what the war has been about for all of this time. Is, cannabis is illegal. No, marijuana is illegal.
Yeah. It's a double
Hemp
They gave it a different name?
Hemp was overregulated. It's just crazy that what it really was, when you boil it right down, what was it? It was THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. That is what the concern was about. That's what all the fuss is about. If they test what you have, maybe it's a plant, maybe it's some dried plants, maybe it's a bunch of powder, maybe it's some keef that you've got, maybe it's some edibles, maybe it's some whatever. If they suspect that it's got marijuana in it, what are they testing for? They're only testing for THC.
Yeah, not
That's
CBD or anything.
what marijuana is.
Yeah.
Cannabis is a whole bunch of different plants with different varying levels of THC and the other 100 or more cannabinoids that are there. But it's the THC that was the target, that is the menace, that is all what the fuss is
They'll make you go
about.
crazy and do crimes.
They said
and beat
you'd be
your
violent,
wife and
super strength.
Yeah, PCP strength.
You would rape and pillage and rob.
That was the devil's lettuce.
You were highly addicted.
Oh God.
You couldn't get off. You would die a horrible death trying to get off it. That's what they said. All of this was in Emily Murphy's Black Candle, the definitive book on illegal substances back in the day.
And then
Did she relate to Eddie Murphy?
then Cheech and Chong
Not by
showed
color,
us the
anyway.
funny part that us stoners knew about, but they brought it out. Cheech and Chong showed everybody that being stoned was kind of funny.
Cheech and Chong, because I got all the Cheech and Chongs at home.
Yeah.
I know that in Amsterdam, they had the leaf inside maybe a tea or warm milk or something.
Yeah, they had hash salads and all kinds of stuff there, man. Yeah. There was a soup that they were eating.
Oh, yeah, soup,
Yeah, they had a soup and everything.
Bud salad, was they in season?
Bud salad, with the chunks of hash in it, like little, instead of croutons, they had little chunks of
Chong
hash.
are my heroes, man.
I know.
I mean, if I met him, I'd probably faint. I'd say, hey, what's
So THC.
Yeah.
True health care.
It's all about THC.
It is.
And what are the properties of THC? Well, THC is the part of cannabis. It does provide other medicinal values, especially in combination with CBD and CBN and these other ones. Mm-hmm. But the effect of THC is to provide a euphoric effect. That's the way they describe it. It's just a word that requires about 2,000 words attached to it because euphoria means a whole bunch of different things. A long definition perhaps. For each person maybe a little different perhaps.
And they're explaining their first experience with it because you don't have the euphoria after 30 years or 10 years of it. You still get a little bit of your medical help, but I think the euphoria is more of the
medical
first
users.
experience.
For one thing, medical users usually don't get the same level of euphoria.
No.
Much of the power of the cannabis, including the THC, is dedicated towards relieving and alleviating whatever's going on with the person, resulting in the pain. But what the government was after, what these prohibitions are about, is about not allowing you to experience something they call euphoria.
Yeah.
Euphoria.
Makes us think.
Well, euphoria, like I say, there's much to euphoria.
Yeah.
Euphoria certainly does put a different perspective on things if you're looking through euphoric eyes.
Yeah.
It provides a calming effect, if you're too uptight,
Yeah.
if you're stressed out,
Yeah.
euphoria for you would be very common.
If you're tossing and turning at night and go smoke a nice fat joint and go back to bed, you can go to sleep in 20 minutes.
I mean, ideally, what it means is you're experiencing something that's phenomenal, something that's amazing.
I think
It's this fantastic music
Yeah.
that's playing in the presence of the most beautiful flowers you've ever seen while you gaze into the eyes of your loved one. It's like,
Yes.
Euphoria. It's a wonderful. The description of euphoria is a wonderful thing.
Why should it be so bad to be?
Why is it a crime
Exactly.
to experience some euphoria? Now, in the case of cannabis, it can be pretty mild.
Yeah.
I think mostly it's pretty mild.
Yeah.
Cannabis
Yeah,
on
well,
average, back in the day, before people were really using good techniques in producing THC, had about 14% THC across the board. That was the normal range of THC for a cannabis plant growing either in the wild or wherever.
Yeah.
14% is still fairly high. Your first experience could be quite euphoric, but then your brain adapts, and by the next few times that you're using cannabis, it settles into being euphoria, but not something seriously hallucinogenic or anything that's overly overwhelming or anything like that. You learn to control it.
Yeah.
You laugh a lot about things that are silly. You notice things you didn't notice before.
Yeah.
You start thinking about stuff in ways you hadn't thought before, and sometimes that's funny. Sometimes it's like, wow.
Really,
There's a lot of wow, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wow, man, in smoking weed.
I'm in trouble then because when I don't have no euphoria because my brain shuts down.
You're just in too much pain to get it.
Yeah. Or you're just totally euphoric and you think it's normal.
Yeah, well, it's good to be here on your show, Neil. And
You're leaving now?
Yeah, I'm gonna head out.
You're gonna head out?
He's getting the signal from the producer, right?
Yeah. No. But happy 5 years, you two. Happy.
Well, for you and I, it's been a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
For you and I, it's going back to closer to 20 years or more.
Wow.
It's good
I
to
got a
be
lot of
here.
catching up to do.
Or maybe, I mean,
we'll have about the year.
We'll have to talk about that. That might not be true. You haven't been here for 20 years straight, have you? You were.
Oh, about 17 years.
Yeah, so it's been that long anyway, or somewhere around there.
16 years.
A long, fruitful relationship with both of you guys.
Yeah.
It's been fun, and it will continue to be so.
Yes, it's
But
going to be
I'll
good.
let you guys carry on about all these government issues.
Well, yeah, he's going to head outside too.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
almost
I'm
5:30.
making points here. I'm not done making points
No, I
until
know.
I feel like I'm done making important points.
I love you out there in Pot TV land.
that's what we're
Peace.
doing. But we will go out there shortly. But this is the thing, and it's been a war against people and people's desire to access euphoria.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, be it to deal with stress, be it to deal with pain, be it to sleep better, be it for whatever reason, euphoria seems to be a desired state of mind to be able to achieve once in a while, and so people want that, and the government tells you can't have that. The government figured out you can't have that. What? What are you talking about? The government, our public servants, decided that euphoria would be a thing that they would use the criminal law against people trying to achieve through the ingestion of cannabinoids from a plant that had been around and providing that for human beings for thousands of years through just about every culture on the planet. And that they're deciding that is okay in a free country to take away your ability and use your own money to prevent you and penalize you if you have anything to do with the supply or distribution of cannabinoids, because, and not just cannabinoids, one cannabinoid, the THC cannabinoid, because that one cannabinoid will give you insight, will give you a perspective differently than you have now, will maybe prevent you from using alcohol, which dulls your senses and prevents you from recognizing how badly you're being exploited by your government on behalf of these corporate elites.
Or maybe people really know they are being exploited and just drink so they don't
Well,
realize it.
That too.
Right?
I'm sure of that. I'm sure.
Right? Oh, fucking go, man. I
I'm
just drink this
sure.
beer and not fucking care about it, right?
I'm sure. There's former activists that have decided, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
They're burnt out. They're frustrated. They've had enough. They're outraged, but they can't do enough about it. And they go to the bottle or they go to the needle because the cannabis plant wakes them up. I don't know if that's true, but I bet you it is true, because this is the reality of things.
Yeah.
The government is attacking our ability to think for ourselves in ways that we want, and to achieve states of mind that we desire, and your government has no business in your brain.
Yeah.
Trudeau said they had no business in your bedroom. I went on to say they have no business in your grow room.
Yeah.
They have no business in your brain. They have no business telling you what you should be thinking about or not. In fact, they should be ensuring that you have freedom of speech and freedom of thought.
Yeah.
How can you even exercise and have freedom of speech if you don't have freedom of thought?
Yeah.
Human beings get to go on journeys of exploration in their minds.
Yeah.
Einstein was who he is because of all of these thought games that he played with himself. People play more thought games under the influence of cannabinoids. Probably Einstein was a cannabis user. I don't know, but it looks like it by what he came up with, because he would contemplate things like you do when you smoke a joint, and you sit back and you think about government and taxes and all these things. Nixon said, can't have all these kids sitting around smoking marijuana thinking about things.
No.
Because
then we wouldn't be able to control them.
So, do you get just how serious this is?
Yeah.
That your public servants are actively involved to the teeth in spending enormous amounts of our money to get involved with what we think about and the states of mind that we want for ourselves, and even just people that are sick. The euphoric side of cannabis, the reason it's there is because nature provides, because we're adapted to our environment. That's what living beings do. They grow up and they adapt to their environment. And we have adapted to this planet Earth. And we've grown up with the plants that are on this planet. We use these plants to be who we are. And cannabinoids are a big part of that. They're a big part of us. They're a big part of what makes us who we are, how we work. Our whole endocannabinoid proves that. We have a system inside our bodies that if we don't actually use the cannabis plant and get enough cannabinoids off the other plants that provide them, like peppers and hops and other things, that we create these same chemicals within our body through our endocannabinoid system out of the essential fatty acids, the long-chain fatty acids in our diets.
Yeah.
So, this war against us accessing this plant, it couldn't be more of a personal, serious thing than what it is. And to attack our ability to have a frame of mind, this plant provides us with food and clothing and shelter and all of those things. But what it does for us with respect to our medical condition is like a hand in glove.
It is.
As it mimics our endocannabinoid system. And so when you're reaching for the plant that we have learned through the eons is beneficial to us in our medical conditions, what does the cannabis plant provide? But this amazing molecule, the tetrahydrocannabinol molecule, the THC, that provides euphoria at the very time when you need to have that altered state of mind.
And safely.
Absolutely safely.
Right? You're not going to OD on it or anything.
So you're sick, you're suffering, and sick and suffering over the eons was always extremely serious. It killed most people. You break your leg before there's proper medical care available for you, you're dead. You're dead. And numerous other infections and things that killed people. So when you're reaching for herbal medicine, because that's all there ever was. There was never pharmaceutical medicine for the eons. I'm talking about for millennia here. But over that time, we always turned to the herbs. The medicine men and the healers in our communities had known and had passed down the information of and understood the healing powers of. And so when you're reaching for the one that works the best, which turns out to be the cannabis plant, it doesn't only just work the best on the inflammation that you have, on the pain that you have, it provides the euphoria. Because that's what you need at the time when you need it. When you're in trouble, when you're stressing, when you're in pain, when you're going to possibly die, what you need is some euphoria to go along with the right medicine to deal with the inflammatory situation and the infection.
That's why they try to make alcohol and you get the euphoria, but you're stupid and falling down and hurting yourself and stuff.
So this crucial element of our relationship with nature where nature provides us with the medicine and the additional state of mind to be able to deal with the thing that we're needing the medicine for, is now being attacked by governments to protect the interests of pharmaceutical companies. And with cannabis, it goes much beyond that, as we've talked about on other shows. I mean, probably the petroleum industry is the biggest one that is at threat from cannabis ethanol.
Yeah.
But the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, they're the ones that wanted that just decided that they're going to take that out of our medicine.
Yeah.
And they're going to provide you with their pills.
They're scared of something.
Well, they're scared of not making enough profit. It's
Well,
not profit-based. It's all
also,
about money.
It's strange how the state of man has always looked up to a king or a queen for their living and their society. Now, then the king and queen and their army was probably more powerful than the people, but we've changed. Billions of people live on this planet now. We think that the government is big, but if we were all to group together, we would overpower our governments. The power is in the people. We don't need to look at the government as being our mighty saviors anymore. Yes,
It's a pretty big if, though.
it is. It is.
And the government has other powerful mechanisms that they've been using against
the
us.
laws will lock us up
Through
just
the,
like they did with
through the
COVID.
media, through the laws,
Yeah.
through scare tactics of all sorts, through false flag events.
Well,
Through,
laws are only good if people follow them.
well, true.
Right? If the government says that
Unless-
this is a law and people don't like it, then people don't do it, and then they have a problem, right?
Well, or do they? Or
Wow.
do they? Because in the case of cannabis,
Yeah.
they decided to profit on the people that would break the law.
Yeah.
So they found mechanisms to profit greatly
Yeah.
on people that would break the law. They found that they could impose whatever fines they want. If you were involved in growing or selling, they could take your property. They could take your bank accounts, and they do. Property forfeiture is
only
one
if
of the
we let
biggest
them.
things. Well,
Right.
I mean, that,
Yeah, right.
and you know the word that you used first there.
Yeah.
If.
Yeah.
It is a really huge if.
Yeah.
It is a really huge if we can unite
Because
ourselves.
yin and yang
It is
will
a
have
really
the people
huge
who will
if.
allow it and some
You
who
know,
don't.
We are up against extremely powerful forces that have great knowledge and expertise in how to manipulate and distract.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for a long time. They've got most of their systems in place with respect to the control through the media, through the school system, through public servants that are really serving the corporate agenda. All of these things, is a very sophisticated network of control that they have built over time. I'm optimistic to a degree. I believe there's a chance.
Yeah.
I recognize the odds are steep. If ifs and buts were real and overcomable, then we would be so much better off. But these are big ifs, and that's why we need everybody. And that's exactly what you're saying, and it's exactly where I'm saying, well, there's our issue.
Yeah.
How do we unite people? How do we all come together for this cause? We need to communicate strong and loud that we didn't get legalization. What we got is kind of the opposite of legalization. We got the people that hate us the most in charge of making rules and regulations for us. These stupid regulations are not there to protect individuals from cannabis. They're there to protect their agenda of control, of domination, of making money mostly. Mostly everything's about making
Now those
money.
ifs and buts, that's what makes us human.
True.
Because we don't know what's going to come tomorrow, right? So to be able to be human is to be able to live in this moment and have those if and buts, be a good thing, bad
It's a
thing.
formula.
It is. It is.
For the ifs and the buts to work, you need hope.
Yeah.
You need hope.
Faith.
Having the truth really helps.
Yeah.
If you're able to articulate the truth, and if you're able to articulate where the lies are, that really helps. You need hope, because otherwise you don't continue on. When you look at the odds, and I sized them up early, actually, as an activist, and recognized quite quickly that the people that we're up against are many, they're huge, they're rich. They're not as many as us, by any means.
No.
We have power in masses.
We do, yes.
For sure.
But
That's
the
why
people
we
just
gathered.
don't seem to know that, right? They seem to just listen to the
Well,
government.
we had it
and-
going on, We had a
Yeah.
pretty good network of activists that have grown quite exponentially. Actually, the activist community has and continues to grow all the time. People need to be smart activists. They need not to have what we're doing used against us by the people that we're trying to get rights from and all of that. But there is hope, there is movement, the truth is ours, it's certainly not theirs. Justice, unfortunately, is theirs so far, not really ours, because it's just them. The us in justice is them, not us. It's us is a different them.
Yeah.
We're them to them, which are us.
Confusing.
So yeah, that's the point. Keep
We're,
everybody as confused as they can be, as drunk, as angry, as distracted, as entertained, as overwhelmed. All of these things are tools of that evil empire that want to keep us from recognizing just how bad they are oppressing us.
Yeah.
And they really are. And I know that we've gained a lot, and we have a lot, and we're freer than most, and we're freer than we were, but we're not free by any means yet. There's still many lives being ruined. There's still much money being wasted. There's still a lot of injustices with
people are
respect
still
to us
dying out
as
in
the
our
society.
alleyways just on the other side
And
of
that's
wall.
the thing here, you know, and I know I want to quickly get to this because I was almost finished this thing, and I wanted to let everybody know what Health Canada was saying about that.
Yeah.
So
You're near the bottom there.
yeah, I know. There we go. There we are. So problematic. This is from Patty Haydu. This is asking for submissions for community groups that are in touch with what can be done for the opioid crisis. It reads like an absolute description of what we have been doing here on the downtown east side of Vancouver and in other places across Canada, which I'll get to shortly as well. But I'll read a little bit more. They've said that they want these groups that are connected, that are grassroots, that understand the community, that have people with lived and living experience and all of that. They say problematic substance use in Canada's opioid overdose crisis require collaboration from all levels of government, as well as partners, stakeholders, people with lived and living experience of substance use, and community organizations across the country. The federal government remains committed to a collaborative, comprehensive, compassionate, and evidence-based approach to addressing the worsening overdose crisis and continues to build on actions taken to date. Well, so far there's been inaction on our file, which we believe is the number one leading way to deal with the opioid crisis. We have an answer that is better than any of the other answers that have been so far provided, from supervised consumption sites to pharmaceutical alternatives to the methadone program to the abstinence program to numerous other things that are there as interventions to try to help. There is none that have had the type of success and ongoing continued expanding success that we've had with helping people get access to high-dose edibles of cannabis, despite the fact that we so far have been unable to get permission from governments of any level to be licensed or supported in any way from any level of government, other than the fact that we've remained ignored in what we're doing here, blatantly and obviously 1 block away from the police station in the RV that's out front that we will visit shortly. So they go on to say, we're hope to hear from you in the spring in relation to the exemption application, but appreciate the additional emergency demands that have been placed on Health Canada's time by the COVID pandemic. Hopefully we can sort this out by fall. It has also been a very difficult time for the program, having to continue to operate out of a mobile facility. Oh, so this is actually, this is not Health Canada going on to say. This is a summary provided by John Conroy. This is a letter that we've sent to Health Canada in answer to what they stated that they wanted from people. So after my reading of their letter, which shows that what they're looking for is community-based groups that are able to do exactly what we're able to do, he goes on to say, John says, on behalf of the Cannabis Substitution Program and the Healing Wave and the Serious Hope Society, that we were hoping to hear from you in the spring, which is now passed, in relation to the exemption application that we put in now 10 months ago. But appreciate the additional emergency demands that have been placed on Health Canada's time by the COVID pandemic. Hopefully, we can sort this out by fall, a couple months away. It has also been a very difficult time for the program, the Cannabis Substitution Program, having to continue to operate out of a mobile facility near its previous location and with considerable inconvenience during last winter and now this heat wave summer. We desperately need to be able to operate out of a premises and to be able to do this so more effectively. Approval of our exemption application, or at least part of it, would enable us to seek re-entry into the previous space which the cooperation of the landlord and by way of applications for the development permit from the City of Vancouver to enable the legal continuation of the program. I guess I spoke too much. Hard to read. I should put my glasses on. Nobody wants to see me with my glasses on.
Read for you too.
We want the program. I can do this. We want the program to become fully legal so that we can open a bank account and seek funding to cover expenses, including enabling some of these hard-to-reach persons to be accessed by doctors and, if medically approved, to be able to access illicit supply through one or more designated growers. We want to grow for the people that we're helping here. With perhaps an additional exemption from you, the Health Ministry, with respect to any excess production. Oh no, this is to Benoit Segwan, the Health Canada representative. With an additional exemption from Health Canada with respect to any excess production being able to be used for those who are obviously addicted or in need, but are unwilling to or unable to be medically assessed. We have recently, through the Practitioners of Medical Cannabis International Organization, obtained the names of 2 physicians in and near Vancouver that are willing, with our cooperation, to try and assess some of our patients' clients, and we have lined up a potential location in an agricultural zone in the Fraser Valley from which we understand we will be able to establish 4 medical permits and expect to have 2 designated growers engaged in the production. Given the detailed nature of our exemption application, we do also need to apply under the new program, and if so, can it be transitioned by your office so that it is being considered by both to the extent necessary? Our primary concern is to be able to operate legally as opposed to obtaining any funding. But if we are able to obtain some funding to cover expenses in relation to the production and distribution of the product to the patients and the rental of the premises and related expenses, that would likely enable us to expand the program to reach others and to eliminate or at least reduce the need to charge anything for the product for those who are clearly eligible. May we please have an update on the exemption application and hear from you on how we fit in with the new SUAP? And what, if anything, we need to do to move things forward. Accordingly, John Conroy on behalf of Neil Magnuson. So yeah, there we go. Hopefully we'll get a timely response.
You're hoping, I'm hoping.
Lots of hope with the Serious Hope Society, the
Not
Cannabis
much faith.
Substitution Program.
Hope, we have hope.
Hope, but faith is limited. But there's enough hope to carry on.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on with that.
And you're bringing hope to people.
We do bring hope to people. That's why we're the Serious Hope Society.
Yep.
That's what this is about. That's an extremely important component in what's going on here. As I was alluding to earlier, the attack on us as human beings to be able to have the desired mental state that we need or we want, the attack on our ability to ingest whatever we want that might alter our thoughts is something we really, really need to consider. It's something that the government should not have control of. It's something that, and I mean, if there's a problem with people's behavior on ingestion of PCP or other substances that may cause violence, then there's a role to play for government with respect to regulations, as I mentioned earlier. And people are held responsible for their behaviors in a society that makes sense. And so completely outlawing substances that may well be used reasonably by some people, not used reasonably by other people, makes no sense. I mean, nobody should be able to make Jell-O because some people make a mess of it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's nonsensical. It's not fair. It's not right. It's an attack on our human rights, our ability as human beings to make choices for ourselves as adults, to do what we want to do unless we're hurting somebody else, or not do what we're not shouldn't be forced to do if we're not hurting somebody else. So Jerry Martin, who's been fighting this fight for a long time on several levels, would occupy a segment of our show, but he's not available today. It's the Martin Medical Moment, and we've been following Jerry through his process as he had a dispensary for 4+ years in Whitewood, Saskatchewan, was ordered to shut down because of legalization, resulted in his arrest and forfeiture of his properties, has now been for over 4.5 years fighting that, over 40 appearances in court, and finally a day where he gets to put in his affidavit and be cross-examined and have his say. There'll be final arguments on that coming up in the middle of September. In the meantime, we'll see what happens with that. But Jerry has not been idle. He continues to have passion for addressing these issues, and thought control is one of his big projects, the Thought Control Project, or the Freedom of Thought Project, as I like to call it. He's available at mindtech.ca and
Facebook, Instagram.
There's just a number of different ways you can get a hold of Jerry.
Yep.
And check him out and what he's doing. And it's very, very important that we put a lot of concentration on this. It's time the government got out of our heads. It's time they got out of deciding what we can think about, how we want to think about things, what sort of things we want to ingest into our bodies, all of those sorts of things. If it's dangerous, tell us. We'll make a decision from there. And we need to get those types of things put there. I don't know how we get that, as was alluded to earlier with Landlord about how we just electing a new group that's going to actually follow through on limiting their own powers, on becoming more transparent, and on being more accountable is a lot to ask, and I'm not sure how we get that. But we'll see. I do believe in voting. I do believe in the voting process as being something we should be involved in. It's better than nothing, and who knows what types of successes we can have in that, and we should do the best we can to get at least the best we can. But it is rigged, it is fixed, and it is all in the favor of the people that we need to be protected from most. So that doesn't make much sense. So in any case, Jerry Martin, follow what he's doing, get involved in all of that. We're going to take a quick trip outside, see what's going on at the Healing Wave CSP RV. So welcome to downtown Vancouver, another beautiful day down here. We've had sunny days for weeks now, all through the province. That's good on some levels, but not good on other levels. There's forest fires that are raging about a month ahead of their schedule for how many we should have at this time. Lots of communities are on evacuation. Our heart goes out to them, and there's a downside to this great weather as well. Here in Vancouver, so far we're not affected by any of that. We do get smoke from the fires sometimes. It has been rather hot, but we've managed to survive, and we do that out here in the RV. This was our solution once the licensing department decided that we couldn't be in a storefront without having the cooperation of the federal government. And so rather than try to run our program from the sidewalk like we had done from Vandu for 3.5 years, we decided it was best to get an RV to be right where our store had been for the better part of a half a year before we had to get evicted from there. The people that we deal with in our program, many of them are homeless, don't have proper contact information, wouldn't be easy for them to find us somewhere else. We felt we had to continue what we had done in the store with being available for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, but do it, I guess, from an RV. We had a little bit of trouble with the VPD when we first started doing that until they recognized who we were. Since that time, we've had no interference. It's been well over 8.5 months since we've had any conversations, even with the Vancouver police. We continue to be here, obviously doing what we're doing, parked a block away. They have full knowledge of what we're doing. They, like us, are waiting for Health Canada to see what happens there. This is a project that was started to help the people that are addicted to opioids. It was started through Vandu, and it operated out of Vandu for 3.5 years. One of the board members at Vandu, he took the project to Victoria early on, and through a group called Solid, which is the advocacy group in Victoria as Vandu is here in Vancouver, has been operating their cannabis substitution program for all of that time. It's well over 2 years now. A good friend of mine in Halifax liked what we were doing here, saw the need in his community. Chris Backer has been running the East Coast Cannabis Substitution Program in Halifax for over 1.5 years. They gave out over 200 packs in about 90 minutes. Monday morning, they do it every Monday morning from an old closed down school. The kits go really fast. There's not enough to serve everybody. There's obviously still a need for donations, and if you can help out with the East Coast Cannabis Substitution Program, that would be great. Or what we're doing here, it's all done by donation as well. We're always needing and seeking more people to help us with what we're doing. One of our head bakers here for a while had to go back to London, Ontario for family matters, and she opened a cannabis substitution program there. I'm not sure if this is the 13th or 14th week, but she's been doing it for a few months now. She has had contact with the police in her area, She educated a young officer that came and told her that what she was doing was illegal in providing cannabis high-dose edibles to people. There's been no interference since, but I am told that today, she does hers on Tuesday, also gave out over 200 packs. I had to turn some people away. Always unfortunate when that happens. I know how that feels, but you also have to recognize the good that's been done in the 200 packs that you did give out and the people that you did manage to help. You can always help more. Can probably never help everybody, but it's good to know that you're doing an immense amount of good in any case, even if people do have to be turned away and find it somewhere else or come back next week or something like that. But Mary did have the police observing what she was doing today, but no interference. She feels they're not going to interfere. I don't know. I think maybe there's still conversations that she may have with these people, and that's a great opportunity to educate people about how much good we're actually doing here. A big shout out to Legacy 420, to Fiddler's Green, to Bob Woolsey, to the people that are helping out Mary. She needs all the help she can get. It is hard to sustain a program like this. It takes a great deal of people that are involved in donating to the program, to the volunteers that put it together, to the community resource people and the community authorities, if you will, that need to be on board with what's going on. So it's a great effort that's being done in all of these other communities where the Cannabis Substitution Program is running, and other people doing similar things that aren't even part of our program, that aren't using our umbrella. Get cannabis to people. Get the word out. The cannabis high-dose edibles can help people get off of opioids. It can get you through the overdose or through the withdrawal period and prevent the overdoses that are killing people and putting people at risk. Don't take a risk with the powders and the hard substances, the street drugs. Alcohol kills hundreds of people in this province every year as well. Don't take a risk with these other substances. There is an answer through cannabis, which is one of the best substances on the planet for helping people feel the way that people want to feel, for bringing euphoria, for bringing joy, for killing pain, for dealing with stress, for all these things. That's why people like it so much. That's why it flourished even with harsh criminal penalties. That's why people pay as much as they do for it. It's because it's very valuable to people and it really, really helps. So let's all be part of the solution in getting together and demanding low barrier access and growing everything that we can and connecting each other to the people that are helping us get it until we get a system put in place that really is low barrier access, that works for everybody, where anybody can be a supplier and a grower really easily. We can all help each other get cannabis. It's no big deal. It's a great deal. And if the government was on our side, they'd be helping people get access. They'd be supplementing cannabis. They'd be making sure that it's available through low barrier access and it's cheaper than anything else in the marketplace. That's what our governments should be doing for us if we lived in a rational world. The fact that we don't means we got some work to do, and let's do it. So in this RV are our regular cast of characters. Hello, Jim Nelson. How are you?
Very warm. How are you?
Very warm. It's hot in there.
Yep.
Hotter in there than it is out here.
Yep.
Yep. Got a little bit of a breeze going. There's George hiding in the background. Andrew just took off. We'll have to go chase him down.
Yeah, it's work to do.
No, I think he's just
He got a knock on his door.
Did he?
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess I better let him do that then before I go and bother
We do
him.
work under you.
All day, every day. There are some times where you get to test products because it's really important that we test products. We get to discuss our situation because it's very important.
Well, I would like to bring up something sad that happened today. I don't know if you brought it up already. But someone passed away in the alley right over there.
Oh, I didn't bring that one up, no.
Yep.
Do we know them? Do we know?
I don't know. That's the problem. They're not going to announce that on the news.
Right. But you found out yesterday, and I did mention that one of our clients, James, who's been someone I've been trying to help for 17 years here, and he died of an overdose. He did leave behind 4 children in that time, and maybe
Very
that's
heartbroken mom.
and a very
Who
heartbroken
has started
mom,
coming
I'm
by
sure.
though. I told her to start coming by for her edibles again. And
Now
she
we
did.
know why we haven't seen them for a little while.
Yeah.
So, and also another one of our clients lost her son.
Her only son.
Her
Both
only
of them, I
son.
believe that was their only son.
Also leaving 3 children behind. And so, that's why I find this so outraging and so infuriating that we can't get assistance to do what we're doing. And just being left alone isn't good enough. It doesn't allow us to get a bank
She
account.
told me James died all by himself. You know what I mean? Like, how many people's children have to fucking die this way before enough is enough?
I don't wish it on anybody, but the people that are involved in making these decisions, maybe if they were touched personally by by what's going on here. If they would come down and see, what's going on here, meet the people that we see here. We don't put many people on camera when we do the show. Neil's pretty good at making sure the camera's faced away from people that are here. Even in the alleys and what have you, we don't want to intrude on anybody's privacy, and so we don't do that. But there are compelling stories here, day after day after day, that bring us to tears, bring us to our knees. But,
we had a young man today come by that was asking for a couple edibles because his ex-girlfriend is pregnant and using heroin and alcohol, and he's trying to, convince her to use other things, especially she already has fetal alcohol syndrome herself. So I was like, very kindly very kindly try to convince her to maybe break that cycle.
That's what you can do. And that story is repeated over and over again. There's so many people that if they had proper access and if they had proper knowledge of the benefits and the proper ways to use it, man, could there ever be a lot of good done, in these communities where the opioid crisis is so bad, and where it's not just the opioid crisis. There's a crisis of homelessness down here. There's a crisis of people facing barriers through mental illness, through other debilitating physical situations. There's a huge situation in this area of this city, which is a similar area of similar other cities. It kind of has to exist because of government policies and the way our system is, that we're going to have these areas where the services are concentrated to help the people that are in need, and the people that are in need are there because that's where the services are, that's where other like
but then putting up at the same time trying to be forced out of these areas.
Well, forced into other evolving areas. They decide they want to reclaim this part of the city and gentrify it and build big buildings, and they've got this other area that they'll move people to that they'll be out of sight. Yeah, they don't want people too much in sight. They don't really care what the living conditions are.
I think they're even trying to gentrify Blood Alley.
That's why I mentioned the Landlord early on, that there's a lot of parallels between what's going on with the attempt to stamp out the cannabis culture with the indigenous culture and what's happened in Canada. Governments are playing similar roles in doing that, in how they treat people. How they're not just treating the indigenous people that way, they're treating poor people that way, they're treating the sick and the suffering people that way. They're treating people who choose, many times for those reasons, to use substances that way, and marginalizing them, putting them into areas, minimizing the amount of impact they have on the rest of society. And that is more their concern than for the people themselves. And sure, some people in society, they don't want to see that. They would like to have that pushed out of the way somewhere, and they don't care about those people either. But I think there's a lot of people in society that actually really care about those people, and that they want those people looked after, not pushed out of the way and made invisible. So the government's not doing us a very good service in the way they're treating our brothers and sisters.
Causing addiction as well. Like, if I had been offered different things, I wouldn't have been on narcotics for over a decade.
Yeah.
But that's what a doctor gives you when you've been in a car accident. Here you go, here's some pain meds.
That's their go-to. That's the go-to. Yeah. The go-to is pharmaceutical meds, opioid-based meds.
Yeah.
Meds that are addictive, meds that have other problematic side effects. Those have been the go-to for the medical society or the medical profession for a long time.
Like, I've been lucky, like the clinic that I use down here, they do have like a pain clinic, and what I've been doing is a treatment called myoactivation, and that has been amazing. And like, I wish that had been offered like after my car accident instead of narcotics. But it took my journey of ending up homeless and ending up down here to end up at that clinic and get that treatment. So I guess it kind of worked out in the long run, but it took being on fucking painkillers for a decade for that. Like, that's it shouldn't have to work that way.
It's the interference of government, and it's the corruption of the medical associations by the pharmaceutical companies that's resulted in pharmaceuticals being the go-to instead of other treatments that don't make them money because they can sell you pills that they make 3,000% minimum profit on. So pills have to be the go-to to make the profits, and that's the people that have the influence.
Covered, but like, if you want any kind of treatments, like massage or acupuncture, or any of that kind of stuff, you get a very limited amount of funding for a year. You get 12 visits or something a year.
No, you just made my point. You just made my point. Pills are easily financed by the governments. And by finance, that doesn't mean...
But even if they cost money, don't you need special authority to pay for it? They want you to
Finance does not mean that the pharmaceutical company doesn't get the full price for their pill. It means that it's paid for by taxpayers. That's what that means. So pharmaceutical companies, they're still selling pills, whether or not it's paid for by taxpayer dollars or not. So they're happy to have the government subsidize the sale of those pills, to just give them tax, just pay for them on behalf of taxpayers. You don't feel it. You don't know that you're paying a whole bunch for those pills.
And I heard in the States that there was recently a lawsuit, I guess it was settled, I think, but that some pharmaceutical company has to pay out, billions of dollars or something. But
There has been
it's a drop in the
settlements.
fucking bucket for them. That's
It
nothing.
is, yeah.
It's a slap on the fucking wrist.
And the actual people that profited so much out of those billions of dollars, or maybe more than that, that they brought in the first place, they got a whole bunch of that money out of the way. They got that taken away. That's theirs. Government can't have it. Can't take it away from them. The people that sued them can't get it. So
for
yeah,
every person that
they're
lost
all
money
multi-millionaires, if not billionaires, and yet the company has to pay billions of dollars over a course of time to a bunch of people in small amounts
They should have to
comparatively.
pay billions to every single person that has lost somebody to an overdose.
Well, they shouldn't be getting away
My
with
mom
what
was
they're
a
getting away with.
registered nurse and died of a
But
fucking
this is the
pharmaceutical
corruption that
overdose.
we live with. This is what it's all about. And we need to stop that. The reason that those other treatments aren't as covered as the pills are is because the pharmaceutical companies don't get the money that they get for their pills if you get those treatments. Those treatments don't put money into the pockets of the pharmaceutical companies, so therefore they're not covered the way they would be, or not
They
encouraged.
don't want to make you better.
They don't.
Pills
Yeah.
aren't to make you better.
They're maintaining it. It's not in the pharmaceutical company's best interests to make somebody better. It's
Well,
better
just
that you maintain.
The fact that each medication has like 5,000 fucking side effects tells you right there.
It's
They're
okay.
not meant to make
That's
you
fine.
better.
They have medicines for those too. They have other pills for all the side effects. That's fine.
Yeah.
And the government will pay
Take
for.
another pill.
The government will pay for those too, with our money, unfortunately. But so yeah, that's what's going on. We all know. I hope some of you people at home didn't know, because I don't want to just tell everybody watching on the show things they already know. And I know most of you already know this stuff probably. But this is the truth of our
I
world.
recommend people take, or maybe some THC pills or some CBD pills.
I like what Dr. Lester Grinspoon had to say about it. He said that cannabis should be the go-to number one choice for just about all ailments that doctors go to first, because of the lack of side effects involved and the good chance that in the right application it's going to be effective for what you need.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot. So Mr. Andrew, are you ready to see us at the back door?
Yes,
All
nice
right, let's
naked
do
tray
it.
for you back there.
All right. All right. I see you had the cleaning crew in because normally it's a disaster. No, I'm just teasing. So what's new today?
We like you too.
Yeah.
I've
I
done
paid
lots
him to say that.
new today. Everything is on ice. It's warm in this camper.
Yeah. So
Because-
we don't really have a tray full of stuff to show people.
We have a tray full of nothing. But we do have products to give people,
Yeah.
and I've given about 25 people already products today.
And so you just tell people what we have. You know what a lot of people know what
I
they
know
want.
exactly
or-
how many we got and what we've got because the government has put this in this position. If we were inside the store, I could just walk over to the fridge, open the
We
fridge, and I
have
could
our
take it
cooler
out.
unit.
But now, since they're not here, I'm using this. You want to see what I got here today? This is how we do it out here in the camper. Today we have some CBD right here. We've got some 25 milligram CBD, 4 of them are 25 milligrams each. That's 100 milligrams. We have some cookies from Joe Pepper. We have some 100 milligram cookies. We have some muffins here. And this is,
Those are,
this was frozen this morning when I brought it in. And now it's still a bit frozen, but it's turned to water.
Yeah.
But it's still cold, and that's how
Those
we're
are
keeping
John
it.
Murray's things there. We have these are Roberta's brownies.
Right here.
Right there.
Right, yeah. And we have another one too.
We have always Michael the Cookie Monster's cookies, and we got the
And we're
Gorilla
gonna do
Ganja.
it, and as long as, and we're supposed to have another heat wave,
Yeah,
so we're
coming
going to
up.
have to keep on doing this.
Yeah.
Just letting the government know you're a bunch of assholes because we have to do this, right?
This way.
I'd like to see you come out here and sit here and do this for a week.
Yeah. Meet the people. Meet the people. See the reactions. See the good that we're doing for them. Get their testimonials.
You just want to put money in your
I guess
pocket.
they don't need to be here because Anil already sent them the video, and I'm sure they've all watched the whole
No,
video.
we're out here doing the work. They don't have to come down. They can just, right?
We did send them pictures, videos, descriptions of what we're doing and how we're doing it. But I would like to see some government people come down and talk to us, to get a feel for what's happening down here and who these people are. And, maybe change their mind about a few things and get the support that we should have.
Here's the other container, the styrofoam container I'm using.
Right.
Because I'm doing it like the old natives do it. They put when you go down to the dock and you get your fish, you get them put in here and you put the ice on top, and these are really good for keeping it cold.
Right. I got ice bags now too, eh? Johnny B gave us some ice bags.
I have some marshmallows right here. That's 100 milligrams. Right here.
Yeah.
I have one cookie here, and it's almost like an arrow. Right, one of those Oreo cookies.
Yeah.
It's 250 milligrams.
Nice. Wow.
250 milligrams right there.
And so for a regular dose, by the way, for people who don't know, it depends on the individual. It's really hard to say what a regular dose for somebody is.
Yeah.
For some people, they recognize 5 milligrams, and that has an effect on them. And if you've never tried it before, that's where I recommend you start, is at 5 or 10 milligrams, and then wait for up to an hour and a half or so, see how you feel. If it's nothing, if you don't feel anything, take a little more. Go slowly though. Don't decide to take a whole bunch more. Find the dose that works. But I would say a typical dose would be between 25 milligrams and maybe 60 or 80 milligrams for an average person. And then there's a fair amount of people who take way above that as well. But 25 to 60 milligrams is probably a pretty hefty dose.
How big the person is.
Yeah, it's not about size.
It's not about size.
Yeah.
Because a big person can get nice and high on just 25 milligrams,
Yeah.
20 milligrams, or something like that.
It's
right?
not about size.
No, it's not.
It might have been something about when you ate last. It might be your particular metabolism, your frequency that you vibrate at, whatever it is. But everybody has, different tolerances and what works. It could be that, you're supplementing an endocannabinoid system when you're introducing these cannabinoids into your human body. And it would depend perhaps on how many different issues you as an individual were dealing with on a physical and emotional basis. Would depend on how much you might need to properly supplement that to feel the effects. So it's an individual journey for sure. It's not something that the government can regulate. It's not something where the government can say, oh well, everybody should only do this amount or this amount. No. It's not up to them. They can't know. Everybody's a different individual.
Everybody's individual. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So all right, well, good job, Andrew, and we're going to go around the other side just for a minute
Thanks,
and wrap this up.
Appreciate it.
The most expensive weed is $6 a gram. It's pretty good weed, but
We'll take a gram of the best.
it's still expensive for many people. So here we are again, out here, doing what we're doing, telling the same story. The thought continues. There's some movement on our end in trying to urge the government to do what it is they say that they want to do. This release from Patty Haydu is pretty big for us. We do think that we have complied almost completely with what it is that they're suggesting needs to be complied with a 4.5-year track record of demonstrating how we're doing that, and so many people and groups behind us. So that's very encouraging. We'll see what they say about that. Other than that, we just keep on fighting the fight. We just keep on trying to, fight against this beast of oppression that human beings have been fighting for millennia, for always. There's always the bully. There's always somebody, some group, somewhere that thinks they own your ass, that wants to own your ass, that wants to tell you what to do, that wants you to produce and consume for them. And the fight for freedom is a long, hard-fought battle that we are nowhere near at the end of yet. And that is very evident in the regulations surrounding so-called legalization of cannabis in Canada. And very evident as you go around the world and look at how people are treated and the rules that they have to abide by, and mostly the corruption involved in why many of those rules are in place, that they benefit the ruling elite and the financial elite of this world. And so, we're still fighting, and I hope you're still fighting too. I hope you're having fun fighting, because just fighting is no good. I don't want to live my whole life fighting. I'd like to have a balance in my life. We all need a balance in our lives. We all need to be able to enjoy this life. We only get one shot at it. But at the same time, I personally can't find it very enjoyable to just blissfully ignore all of the problems around me, all the people with trouble that are caused by systems and governments and rich people and greedy, unethical people. I can't sit in my spot in the sun and enjoy the nature around me when part of that nature around me is in trouble and needs help. And I'm someone that can help. It's in my blood, it's in my brain, it's in my blood and in my cells. It's like not just me. I think it's most people. I think it's not just people. I think it's in the animal world. I think that you see examples of people and animals all trying to help those in trouble around them. And so with the world being in a lot of trouble around all of us, it's difficult just to enjoy the vacation of life and turn it into that. I guess all the power to those that can. But I think there's much more enjoyment and satisfaction in life if you not only take advantage of the gift that life is and the amazement around us in nature and the universe and all these unanswered questions and all this incredible, awesome, amazing stuff that we live around and that we are as beings. If you also are making a difference and making the world a better place at the same time, then I think that's the way to live, and that's the balance that I seek and I would recommend. But who am I? You do whatever works for you, and let's all get together on this somehow. You can follow what we do here on the THC show on a weekly basis. We're here every Tuesday, live streaming from Pot TV through Cannabis Culture. There's other shows you can watch. There's Carly Marley on the 420 Lifestyle Show with BC Bud Gal. There's Morning Glory, and that's Mondays, by the way. Morning Glory Thursdays at 10 a.m. with a Wake and Bake Silly Show. And Johnny B with the most important show, probably, about teaching people how to grow. Let's grow, because that's one way we can grow our way out of this. We can't arrest our way out of it. We can't vote our way out of it by the looks of it, but we can probably grow our way out of it. And if everybody that could grow did grow, and we all learn how to grow great weed, and we all be generous with it and use it in ways that benefit society, then I think that we can do a lot of good. So thanks to Neil, my producer, for helping out with the show every week. We're closing in on 100 episodes now, strange as that sounds to me. And thanks to all of you for watching. Thank you so much to all the people that contribute, both with their comments and with their efforts for the whole movement. For those who are donators and volunteers for the cannabis substitution programs all across Canada and other places where they may be popping up, thank you so much. You can't understand how much of a difference you're making. These programs will make a difference. We will achieve low barrier access through our efforts, licensed and supported by government in the future. They have to. It's the right thing to do. There's lives at stake, and they just can't continue to be exposed for how corrupt they are by continuing to try to uphold this fake legalization, this continued attempt to wipe out activism and the move for legalization. They can't get away with it for too much longer. We can't let them get away with it. Let's grow our way out of that. Let's make the world as best a place as we can. Why not? If you have an environment, you may as well improve it while you're here, especially if you're leaving it to another generation coming behind you. Let's do what we can, and let's take some pride and some joy in doing all of that. As you figure out what's right for you, to make the effort to be that change that we need to see in the world, you know what I always say: have as much fun as you can. We'll see you next week.